I remember days they used to laugh at me. Used to show them on my records talking casually. Used to say it was a passion on my path to be. Then they told me that I couldn't, so I had to be. Tell me what they really think about it now. Used to hate it, but I guarantee they're proud. Had to do it just to show them that I could, yeah. Now I finally think I took it where I should, yeah. Had a jokes on you and now you're on and laughing. I did a whole lot of winning. Look, it came from a passion. I see a whole lot of no ones I could see now in public. And that may think a lot of things, man. At least think something, now you the judge. Hey, now tell me where you ended up. Yeah. Look, I bet it was a simple job. Yeah. Look, I went and took a different route. Yeah. Look, that's why my life is different now. Back in my feelings, look, when I wasn't so gifted and I was learning to do this, and all I heard were the critics, and I don't blame you for that shit. Look, I was way out the basis, but I just needed some talent so I could wait this to greatness. Oh yeah, you ain't ever think this, no, no, no. Stop me while I started, homie, whoa, whoa, whoa. Now this shit settled, it's go better and better, but I'll always remember, yeah, yeah.
Jeremy Jackson, welcome to That1 Podcast, brother. Appreciate you coming in, man.
Of course, dude.
Yeah, when I first connected with you,
time.
I got to say honestly, when I first connected with you, I saw you with another friend of mine. I'd reach out on Instagram all the time to people, and I had no idea really who you were, honestly. And
I like it like that.
But the funny thing is, I got to tell you, as I've been in this podcast space, bro, I've started seeing people that I saw when I was a kid, watching them on TV, right?
Trip.
And I was in Long Island one time at a party, and I ran into Dwayne Wayne from What's Happening. And he was standing next to me. I looked over and I'm like, holy shit, you're real?
Yeah.
I had this concept when I was a kid. There was only 3 channels and public network, right?
Yeah,
I had this concept that people on TV weren't real. I didn't get it. Nowadays everybody understands it's
different.
Like,
Industry's
yeah, dude,
changed.
I didn't think you people were real, man.
Here
So
I
then we got talking and I started to realize it. But yeah, I had to tell you that story because I don't know if when you were a kid growing up in that, the entertainment space, you probably didn't have that same experience as I did. So let's just start off with that. How did you get into the entertainment business in the first place?
Yeah. So, I just aspired to have the type of influence and the type of power that I saw celebrities have. A year old, I got 126 stitches in my head because I was already practicing Michael Jackson dance spins.
Oh, shit.
So from as early as I can remember, like I see Elvis Presley, I see Michael Jackson, I see seas of people, women fainting.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's who I want to be when I grow up.
Yeah.
So I just started kind of tirelessly working on the craft, developing skill sets, dancing, singing, accents, costumes, you name it. And
That's amazing.
my mom was just like, single mom. We didn't know anybody in the entertainment industry. Didn't have family that grew up in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
We lived like an hour and a half away from Hollywood, which is like Orange County's way more slow and chill, beach vibes, So it's not the epicenter of entertainment. So just kind of sent my pictures into an agent. And she was like, this kid's crazy. I was able to carry a conversation like an adult. I could follow instructions and directions and hit my mark. And
Wait a minute, so it was pictures back then. They would start off with a picture, and then it wasn't like you sent them video first. They would call you in off of a picture.
Is he cute,
Okay.
Is your kid cute? And I'm like, oh, yeah, he's cute. Let's talk to him.
Okay.
So
and then you went in and dazzled them.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you had no inhibition at all then?
Zero.
You like the
Yeah,
tension?
it's like, what good is inhibition? You have a
But
goal,
you didn't know this
want
as
to
a kid,
achieve
though.
it. No, I didn't know it. I didn't even know it was a business.
Right,
I didn't know
right.
you made money off it. I just thought that the most talented people in the world got the most love.
Yeah. And so let's talk about the family dynamic. Do you know your father, or did you know your father?
I never met my dad.
Okay.
My dad was in and out of prison most of his life. He was kind of a troubled youth. Started off, in juvenile hall and stuff like that. And I kind of saw him in passing a couple times that are very faint memories. And he ended up dying of potentially a heroin overdose or a government cover-up, because my father was subpoenaed to testify against the warden of Corcoran State Penitentiary. There was a lot of people dying in the 80s and 90s in Corcoran because the correctional officers and the powers that be were actually putting on fights, letting people fight, and having these kind of little gladiator tournaments inside the prison. My dad was kind of at the top of the food chain in there, from what I later found out. And because he was well-spoken, white, educated, they singled him out and 2 other people who were supposed to go to the, in front of a grand jury in Washington, D.C., and all 3 of them mysteriously died a couple weeks before the
that happens,
trial.
by the way. That happens. It's happening today.
Yeah. Well, if you don't do the crime if you don't want to do the time. If don't play the fire and you won't get burnt. Like if dope doesn't take you out of the game will take you out of the game, or somebody else will take you out of the game, or the ABCs, the biggest crime family in the world, they'll take you out of the game.
100%. Yeah. And so, all right, so they say this kid's cute. We got to get him a job or whatever. What was the first thing that you did?
The first thing I did was a Mattel commercial. It was Hot Wheels. And the color changing Hot Wheels.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
The new big thing. And funny enough, that one commercial turned into a series of 7. They liked me, and I was the Mattel color racer kid, basically.
Gotcha. Yeah, I probably saw that too. I don't remember. I remember the cars though. And so, was it what you expected as a kid? How old were you when you got that job?
6.
Was it what you expected?
This expectation or this perspective of mine going back as long as I can remember, which I've worked diligently to try to expand in my older years, is I don't even really think I took much time to notice what was going on. No matter what was going on, I was driven for more, driven for better. Was never good enough. I could have always done a better job. I was always beating myself up for not doing something perfect. Why is it only 7? Why am I not the official Mattel kid? Like, why does it end? What can I do better?
Right.
So I don't think I was very present, if I guess you could say. What kid's supposed to be, right?
Right.
But all I remember was what was going on in my head. Almost nothing that was really going on outside of me. It's like I was blind to, reality, because I'm just living in my head so hard, trying to be the best kid actor on the planet.
Right. So you had a drive. You had that drive, like
insatiable.
Yeah. And you think that came from like, my dad seemed. I have a similar story, but there was always something there. I'm going to show him. I'm going to make sure that he sees me.
Yeah.
Was there some of that? Like,
absolutely. Fatherless kid, not knowing what confirmation looks like. Right. You go back to like indigenous tribes and the ancients. You send your 14 or your 16-year-old kid off into the woods with a stick, and it's like you don't come back until you kill that bear or that wolf, and you come back and we treat you different from this moment forward. You're a man. So that journey to be a successful man, to be a winner, to be seen as good enough to get approval. That's why I did such a good job, because you got these directors and these producers, they're in their 40s, and I'm this kid, and like I'm looking for that fatherly confirmation, and no matter what I have to do, I'll bend over backwards, I'll bleed for this, because unconsciously, right? I don't know what I'm looking for, but that's exactly what it was.
Do you still have that, you think?
I've worked so much to get rid of it. I mean, I'm sure it's there in ways I still don't recognize, but I've gotten pretty free in my older age.
It creeps up on me sometimes. Yeah. So, still to this day, even though I'm aware now. I think awareness is a big part of it,
everything.
Right? Being aware, because everybody can have an acute moment, and you got to be able to get out of it quick. 100%, man. What about the speed of life when you get into entertainment business? Like, when did that start taking over for you? Like, when you realize, like...
That's another great question, man. Speed of life. I mean, when you are in that position where, it's $50,000 days, $30,000 days, they call you at 10 p.m. the night before, and you got to be there at 6 a.m., right? And it's like you got hairstylists coming over to your house at 2 a.m. because you got to be ready. So everything... life halts. Everything is get perfect, be ready. Planes, trains, automobiles, like whatever it takes. So the stakes are super high. It's definitely a rush, dopamine, adrenaline rush. And the speed of life is like, light speed.
Yeah. And then did your mom put everything on pause when you started getting jobs?
Yeah. So, I had a single mom, and she just really raised me on her own, and her parents were kind of, they were bummed out on her for even getting pregnant so young at 20 without a husband. And so she said, screw you, I'll do it my own. So came from very meager beginnings, and so she's my best friend, and I have dyslexia. I couldn't read. Yeah. So she's like my partner. She's my acting coach. She's my driver. She's my stylist. She's my helper. She's, I'd be asleep in the car, right? It'd be like 6 a.m. I got to go do like a scene. So she'd park like a quarter mile away, and I'd get out of the car, and she'd like be running after me like like pinching my butt and like messing with me so that by the time
Wake
I
it
got
up.
to the studio, I'd be all awake.
Yeah, yeah.
So she pulled every trick out of the book.
Did you have moments when you were a kid where you didn't want to do it? And she had to say, no, dude, we got to go. Like, we got to do this, man.
Oh, a lot
Like,
of
you
times.
gotta-
A lot of times. And I walked away from $1 million deals, man. I passed up on the movie A Walk to Remember with Mandy Moore and
Yeah. I remember
some other other
forget who
big
it was,
stars
but
were in
yeah.
that. Other
Yeah.
big stars. And it was kind of a cult classic. I said, nah, it was written for me. Like the writer wrote the script with me in mind as the lead. And, you know, it was coming hand over fist. So
why did wait,
I don't know, man. I think I was just partying. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to go to the Baywatch audition. I was swimming with my friends in the pool. It was a hot summer day. And they're like, we got to drive to LA. I'm like, oh, I don't want to go. So a ton of those times.
Holy shit, man. You almost didn't go.
Almost didn't go.
And who was up for that too? Leonardo?
Leonardo DiCaprio was up for it. I mean, everybody, you name it, from all the kids, like, you know, Chauncey Billups from like Sandlot to Will Horniff from like Lassie to Jonathan Brandis from like, what was that the show with the dolphin?
I forget what it's called.
Yeah.
So
All the big stars.
but your mom said, no, you're getting your ass there. We're going to go to this
we're
audition.
going. She's like, it's Knight Rider, dude.
Yeah.
Knight Rider's going to play your dad.
You
And I
already
was
knew.
like,
They
I'm
already
in.
knew that he was.
I
half
was a
involved
Knight
with it.
Rider freaking fanatic.
Yeah, but they already knew he was attached to Baywatch.
He was already in it because
Yeah.
Baywatch did kind of like a TV movie on ABC.
Yeah.
And they decided to take the show to Channel 13, which was syndication. So he was already in it, yeah.
And you're like, okay, I got it. That definitely. Yeah.
That's what got me.
And so, did you have father figures in your life before David?
Luckily, I had a couple glimpses. You know, my uncle is an amazing human being. He's done a lot of cool stuff in his life. So, you know, I go visit him. We get out in nature a little bit, shoot BB guns, shoot 22s, ride quads. So, my grandma dated a guy for a few years who was kind of like pseudo grandpa to me, and he was a businessman. He was a sharp businessman. He was a real estate agent. So I'd go to work with him a lot. Luckily, I think my mom kind of did that on purpose, where I'd go spend a couple months with here and there. But you know, at least I got a glimpse, you know, what a real man looked like. Because Hollywood, it's like, dude, Hasselhoff's a superstar. You know, he's got models and women screaming at him and signing autographs. And he wants to be cool, dude. He doesn't want to play a dad. He doesn't want to like mentor a fatherless kid while he's like living the high life.
Yeah. And then what was the first interaction with him?
So I actually, my mom took me to Universal Studios to sit in the kit car before I ever got Baywatch, and he ran by. So first interaction, I saw him running by. I was like, oh, that's Knight Rider. And
Hello,
then
Michael.
I think it was the third audition that I came into, which I was getting really close, right? And we ran lines, and we actually have a Hulu documentary out right now on called After Baywatch Hulu documentary called After Baywatch, A Moment in the Sun, which I coined that phrase, a moment in the sun, when they asked me, what was Baywatch like? I said, it's like a moment in the sun, you know?
Yeah.
But you know, in that documentary, he talks about that interaction. And they asked me, you know, if I had a dad, or where's your dad? And I said, I don't have a dad. And he said, oh, I'm sorry. And I was like, it's okay, I don't need one. And like it brought a tear to his eye. And I remember him picking me up to see how heavy I was, because he was going to be in a lot of scenes with me, and he wanted to look like really strong.
Yeah.
And luckily, I was pretty small for my age.
Yeah. And so oh man, this is crazy. Okay, I want to touch on it.
If you haven't watched that documentary, you should.
I did, but the audience may not have, so that's why I want to ask some of these questions. But I'm going to go back to Baywatch in a second. But for the documentary itself, sometimes when people choose to do a documentary, they don't get involvement or people to agree to be in it, but they'll talk about them. Like when that got presented to you, was it a no-brainer for you, or did you?
You know, it's funny because I was working for a publicly traded company that I helped create in the CBD space. And, you know, I had like officially kind of for the first time in my soul given up on caring, you know, because for years it'd be like, oh, celebrity, you know, apprentice or like celebrity rehab, or it'd be like celebrity Big Brother. Hey, we're going to take you over here. You're going to make a couple $100,000 and we're going to take you over there and sign autographs over here. So there was always kind of these like Hail Mary little, it's still,
right.
I still got these get out of a rut situation. Right.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, every single project I ever did after I quit really TV when I was 18 or 21, we'll say 21, hurt more than it helped. It was like a bittersweet, you know, it took more than it gave.
What do you mean by that?
Like, you know, tabloid, you know, harassment, manipulation of something that I said, turning people against me. You know, for example, 20 years ago, maybe 15 minimum, I'm on Celebrity Rehab, right? Mm-hmm. And I walk in with my own water filter, right? And they're like, dude, this guy's crazy. And I'm like, no, seriously, there's like neurotoxins in water. Yeah. Like it calcifies your pineal gland. Your pineal gland is your center for free thought, and it creates sexual deviancy. Like there's people who are homosexual because they're drinking tap water. And like, they just, oh my gosh, every gay person hated me. And I'm like, I'm not saying like it's bad or wrong. I'm saying like there's proven facts that in your free thinking and your sexual centers that it can become mutated and make you want to do something that you wouldn't have wanted to do before. And this is, you know, now everybody's talking about that. So, you know, that's one example where I had all this hate mail. I'm like, I don't hate anybody, dude. I'm not saying anything right or wrong. I'm just stating some neurotoxic facts.
Right.
And then I went out to Celebrity Big Brother in UK, and that was horrible, dude. I mean, I basically caught an assault charge, got kicked out of the country on this huge misconception because my wife at the time was making all these horrible claims against me, and Perez Hilton was on the show, and he's like calling me all these names, and a viewer who there was nothing even on the show, viewer called and reported a crime, and the cops came, and the producers are like, we're so sorry, like we have to kick you off the show. Oh my God. And in the contract is the only way you cannot get paid, right? Is if there's any assault charge. Yeah. And I'm like, what the
unbelievable.
So like, you know, just punishment, right? And so I'm doing well. I'm loving life. I got great friends. I'm in great shape and great health, doing good things. And this guy calls me, Matt Felker, and he's like, we want you to do this Baywatch documentary.
I love Matt, though, by the way, too. I met him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a sweetheart, right? Yeah. I'm like, no. And he's like, dude, you know, and he kind of told me his story. He told me about growing up in Wisconsin. He told me about modeling his life after Baywatch, becoming a lifeguard, you know, wanting to move out to Malibu and look like this guy and act like this guy. And, you know, so he does. He moves to California and he becomes a really famous model, you know, producer, director, and he's wildly successful. And he's like, I want to like show people like what it did, what it did for my generation. And I was like, okay, so I'm not telling my story. I'm helping you tell your story. Yeah. I was like, I could do that. Yeah. You know? And so we became really good friends, and we hang out to this day. And it also was an amazing opportunity to shine a light on, you know, people that really didn't get as much recognition as they should have. Yeah. And tell some deeper truths, you know? Yeah.
Well, you know, what do you think makes you this media darling, or made you this media darling, or this controversial figure in the first place? Because it's, you know, obviously the story, I guess what sells, right? But why you?
Yeah, you know, I don't know, man. I mean, I don't have much of a filter, pretty honest. People, it's easy to take what is said and totally hear something different, manipulate it. I rose to fame pretty fast. I had a really big personality. Like I tell people that I'm not the way I am because I was on Baywatch. I was on Baywatch because of the way I am. Yeah. Like this is who I am. Like I'm energetic. I interact. I like to connect. You know, call it confidence or call it learned behavior. I don't know what it is, but I just know how to put on a show. Yeah. And so, you know, people see that and they think that it's like, he thinks he's better than me. Oh, he's acting like that because he's got a lot of money and he's on Baywatch. We should kick his ass, you know? So I'm like getting beat up and I'm getting, you know, claims made. Girls are hooking up with me and then their boyfriends find out about it and the girl's like, oh, I didn't really want to.
He manipulated me.
And like, oh, and then the the boyfriend is a cop. So then before you know it, I got people knocking at my door, dude.
Man.
I'm 16 years old and I'm having the claims that, you know what I mean? Like this 18-year-old girl that slept with me when I'm 16 was raped.
gosh.
So one thing after the next, but you know, it's lonely at the top, but you eat good, right? The further you rise, the higher you have to fall. So, you know, watch out for your halo because it'll probably choke you someday.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
that's what it is.
mark that
People
one
love
down.
to take down, you know, they love to throw the virgin in the well. They love to string Jesus up on a cross.
Yeah.
It's like look at the Kardashians. Like everybody, our whole nation lifted them up on this pedestal and then loves to knock them down now.
Yeah.
It's just kind of how it goes.
Have you met a lot of people in entertainment that put on a facade to protect themselves from all that, and they don't really get to live in authenticity?
I'm sure it goes on. I try to just, you know, assume the best and act as if I don't know where anybody's at or what they're going through. I try not to judge, but you know, funky vibes, yeah, for sure. I don't blame people for, you know, being protective or being, you know, tight-lipped. However, I don't want to live my life inauthentically, you know?
Yeah.
So cast stones, dude. People cast stones and, you know, people want to get the village together and, you know, come after people, but it's like, whatever, dude. Nobody's been able to take me down but me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So when that show Baywatch started taking off, outside of the actual filming and all that kind of stuff, the social side of it, talk about the social side and how you got thrown into something at such a young age.
Oh man, I mean, you know, I released my first single when I was 12. So, you know, I'm on stage at all age nightclubs, sweaty, hot, house music, and I'm performing. I'm achieving this Michael Jackson state that I always dreamed about. So, you know, I come home and it's like, I'm going to clubs, dude.
Yeah.
You know, 14 years old, I got a fake ID. I'm going to clubs.
Yeah.
I got money. It's off season for me, and my friends got to go home, right? So I'm hanging out with the other people that are hanging out with the other people. So I end up at the after party. Yep. So, you know, the people that are going that hard, you know, they're not typically great people, right?
Yeah.
So I just didn't want to stop, you know?
Right.
So socially, I got into, you know, the inner sanctum of the weirdos, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm hanging out with prostitutes and car thieves and criminals and drug dealers and, you know, however I felt, those were like my people, you know, and I've been felt completely comfortable with them, you know?
Yeah.
And they'd always take me aside like, dude, what are you doing, man? Like, come on, you should be out doing this and doing that. I'm like, chill, man, we're just having a good time.
Yeah, and you wanted to be accepted.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a need there probably.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I've been there before. Man, that's not even like who I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You look back on that and like sometimes and like that wasn't even me.
We're pack animals, right? We need a troop, you know?
Yeah.
And I think we'll settle for any troop as long as it's a troop. You know?
Yeah.
Being alone is kind of the worst thing. And you know, maybe potentially, you know, people were treating me so differently that even though I wanted that fame, I didn't know what cost it would come with, you know? So I just wanted to prove to everybody that I was just like them. So, you know, if I'm, you know, at the bottom of the barrel, how are you going to treat me like a celebrity? Like I want to be treated normal so bad that I will fall as far down the scale as I can, right?
Yeah.
So that you don't treat me any different than you would treat anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn, dude. Who was your favorite lady on Baywatch that you interacted with outside of
Nicole Eggert and I are really tight friends.
Yeah.
She's a huge sweetheart. She was also kind of the youngest, so when I was, you know, like 16, I was like, a couple more years, like she might actually give me a shot, you know? Yeah. But also because she was kind of a bad girl, like the Charles in Charge bad girl, and she just had a cool kind of tomboyish vibe about her. She was a great actress. She was really an artist, you know, so I admired her in that. She did a lot of movies and other things like that. So we stayed tight, man. But Alexandra Paul, later on in life, you know, she's a legit triathlete, marathon runner, freaking, you know, Ironman.
So now your interest
completer.
now is aligned with that.
Yes,
right.
and she actually stepped up when I was really down and out. She'd come visit me like at rehab and in jail, and she like mailed me protein powder when I was in rehab. Like she really went above and beyond for me when I needed somebody.
It's amazing who disappears when you go to your lowest point
and who shows
up.
Yeah, it's a trip.
You got to pay attention to that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when you decided at 21, you roughly decided to get out of TV and all that. What was the catalyst for that?
Well, you know, I was newly sober and I had really, rocked myself. I had really gone down deep. So I lost, the money was gone and the glitz and the glam was gone, and I had lost really my confidence, and or a lot of fear about, getting back out there. What would I do? I don't want to be at nightclubs. I don't want to be like at parties. I'm going to drink. I'm going to end up doing coke again. So I kind of hunkered down. They call it slow-briety, right? Decided to let's just chill. I got a little telemarketing job. Nobody knows who I am. I can use a fake name and just be, I wanted to be regular, so I can just be regular, do a real job and not be fancy. And I did that for a couple years, but it wasn't soon that another opportunity came to my plate where I actually started doing parties for the brand Von Dutch. So still had some friends, still had some connections, called in a couple favors, and before you know it, I'm Dennis Rodman, B2K, Young Jock, Chingy. Everybody wants to come to the Jeremy Jackson Von Dutch parties, and we're giving away hats. And Christian Audigier loves me, and then he starts Ed Hardy and the Christian Audigier brand. And fast forward, I'm 7-8 years sober. I've produced 200 fashion shows in 15 states and 5 countries, and I'm spray painting Paris Hilton's boobs and putting clothes on the Osbournes, and so I kind of got it all back, but it was from a behind the scenes. It was nightlife event production.
And you stayed sober during that time?
Yeah, I had the time of my life. It was great.
Yeah. Did the ego come back?
I don't think so. I think that's really where I discovered the power of promoting something other than myself. I'm promoting a brand. I am, I'm trying to create a lifestyle and demonstrate the lifestyle. So I'm working with models and I'm working with, break dancers and makeup artists, and it's more of a creative vision. I'm trying to boost this brand up, not me.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of peace in that, because I didn't need to be perfect. I didn't need to be polished. I didn't need to be buff. I didn't need to be tan. I could actually use my mind and my creativity.
Yeah, on a much smaller scale, of course. I started building a personal brand, and it just felt so inauthentic. But I know I needed to do it to find the next thing. And then when I switched my mind to building a brand, something else, and helping others with, for example, the agency, That1, helping people get on podcasts and blow up their brand and go on their mission further, faster, same kind of thing. I felt some kind of relief. It's huge. I can't even imagine on that scale.
Who is last is first.
Yeah.
The meek shall inherit the earth. By giving, you receive. You know what I mean?
Well, let's talk about
others centered.
Let's talk about religion and spirituality, man.
Yeah,
where are you with that?
Oh, I'm everywhere and nowhere at the same time.
Yeah. Do you consider yourself a Christian? Where are you with that?
It's a tough thing to say, man. I would say that I'm a doer of the Christ message. That I believe in the demonstration, and I believe in exactly what Christ said, which is, sadly, most people who call themselves Christians don't really understand or actually embody, right? So Jesus said that the least among us can do what he has done and greater. And he said, do not worship me. He said, follow me and do as I do. He said, the kingdom of heaven is within. He said, I and the Father are one, and so are all you. Is it not written in your books that ye are gods? And, he wanted us to heal. He wanted us to move mountains. He wanted us to walk on water. And he gave beautiful demonstrations of what happens when we don't. When you take your eyes off the truth, God inherent in a flesh vessel, a living embodiment of divine energy, giving animation to this skin suit that is material, And then when you look at the storm and you look at the scary waves, you sink.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. When you think about your anxiety gets bigger. When you focus on the problem grows. When you take your eyes off the light at the end of the tunnel, you start getting all freaked out about the stuff that's going on in the tunnel. Yeah. I think that's what he was really saying, and demonstrating over and over again, to be a lover, to be a brother, to be a forgiver. You're a tax collector? Yeah, jump on. Everybody hates you. Jump in the boat. Oh yeah, you killed some people. Cool, we love you. Yeah. You're lame. Yes, I want you. Yeah. So building the kingdom. Kingdom, by the way, kingdom is a term that speaks to the people within, not the castle on the outside, but the people within. and that's why the forgiveness is so important, and why we should go out and make right with anybody who has any ill will against us or who we have harmed, right? That's why we need to go to them first before we go and do this worship thing. I love this idea that says, it doesn't matter if you think you're a Buddhist or you think you're a Christian or you think you're Catholic or you think you're Seventh-day Adventist, or it doesn't matter what you think your religion is. Your religion, that which you return to religiously, is the thing you think about the most in a day. If all you can think about is how bad your back hurts, that's your God.
That's so good. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If all you can think about is your bank account, like that is your God.
Yeah.
And you might spend a couple minutes in some prayer if you even do that, or you might go to church on a Sunday. But well, it's a charm on your keychain. What's right here, what's going on in your head, that's what you worship and religiously return to over and over.
When you become aware of this, we all acutely go to problems, anxiety, money, whatever. But I mean, you know, maybe it was my midlife crisis, but when I started having a relationship with Jesus and talking to him all the time, I'm never alone. And it's made everything, like, it's wild how it works. It's awesome. Yeah.
We stopped being conformed by the things of this world, and we started being transformed by the renewing of our mind.
So besides sobriety, getting sober, when was it that you started working on yourself, and what did you do to really work on yourself, your mind and everything?
Yeah. Great question, man. And it's a process, right? It's a process that happens in ways beyond comprehension. Like Einstein says, that the consciousness or the mind that created the problem isn't the mind that can solve the problem. So I come in with this mess of a life and these fears and these worries and these insecurities and these ideas about who I think I am or what I need to do. And those are the very things that I have to absolutely let go of. Yeah. You know, to be totally open-minded, to be totally willing, to be teachable, to be ready to set aside everything I think I know about God, myself, people, recovery, so that I can actually receive something different.
Yeah.
Because if you're just carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, you can't even take anymore. Right? My hands are full.
Got to make space.
I got all this stuff.
Yeah, you got to make space. Yeah.
So the most important part of this is the emptiness inside. It's not the fancy stuff outside.
When was it that you started working on that and started, realizing it was important to do?
I think I'm really fortunate to have a grandma and a mom who read me lots of passages all the time. Yeah. However, they never really landed, but they were in me. The seed was planted. You know, it hadn't taken root really, but I think it was an author by the name of Emmett Fox. Highly suggested. He wrote a book called Sermon on the Mount, which is basically a translation of the Beatitudes and all of this type of stuff, and really started shaping the way that I think. And a big portion to Dr. Wayne Dyer, who goes into Buddhism and.
Did you ever get to meet him?
Quantum physics? No, I didn't. But he was a big inspiration to me, because later on, when I started looking at these types of Buddhism, Taoism, quantum physics.
What about Ron Hubbard? Did you ever get into him?
No, I never did. Right.
It's basically neuroscience and quantum physics from the 50s. But anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so later on in life, when I started looking at these things, I was like, oh, I kind of. Wayne Dyer introduced me to some of these concepts. So, I was able to think greater than I felt, right?
Yeah.
And that's when the big shifts started happening. And a big part of it was these positive mantras, dude, to rewire my brain, right? Yeah. Because the human nervous system would rather experience a familiar hell than jump into an unfamiliar heaven. So I can't continue to think and feel the way I do. Otherwise, I'm going to continue to do the same thing, right? Yeah. If nothing changes, nothing changes. And a lot of people think the things they need to change outside of us, but they need to change inside of us. Yeah. So I just started telling myself all day long, like a obsessive compulsive freak, God is with me. I'm right where I'm supposed to be. God is with me, right?
I love it.
Divine love is the only real power. The only real power is divine love. Like I'm personally sick and tired of giving my power away to people, places, and things. So I wanna identify the only real power being divine love. I must accept this truth. Otherwise, I'm gonna continue to live in a lie. I'm so sick of the lie, right? I'm so sick of getting burnt. So I just kind of rewired my brain to focus on these things. Nothing's falling apart, everything's falling together. Nothing's falling apart, everything's falling together. Yep. And then you just like chill for a little while and you're like, holy crap, it's all kind of taking place. Like,
Is it? Yeah. Well, okay. So I have the same kind of thing. I'll say everything always works out for me.
it does.
And if I stay up tone emotionally, everything always works out. And what a lot of people do when they start to see the results of this, they put it on a pedestal like it's happenstance, coincidence, or they'll say, "Man, that's amazing, unbelievable." What you say matters. Yes. And when you do that, then it takes away your power to keep doing it.
It does. There's so many little mistakes that can be made.
Yeah.
Albert Einstein says coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. He wasn't religious at all.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's not a coincidence. It's not happening to you. It's happening through you because you're a creator created in the image of the creator and you have dominion over all things because God gave you that gift, that ability, right? So to step into that ability is to literally take your inheritance. You know what I mean? To experience your own divine birthright.
This is deep stuff. And the people that don't believe are not in this right now. They think we're crazy talking like this. And that's okay. You won't believe unless you believe.
Good.
But at the end of the day, like, yeah, I mean, I used to, when I didn't have this awareness, I would think, man, they're talking some woo-woo stuff. Like, you know. And if that's you right now, just keep searching. Keep being curious because it's out there. I'm telling you. You know, I'm sitting right here. I mean, this is something, I came from Philly. I'm a small town, whatever. I never thought I'd be in a seat like this. I was in a corporate space, you know, thinking that was going to be my life in the mortgage business. And now here I'm freaking out there interviewing great people that have done great things, or at least I honestly put on a pedestal because I'm like, they're in Hollywood, you know. But they're just human beings like us and going through the same stuff.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about the tabloid stuff, right? Like, do you think you or people that you've known and they're into tabloids a lot, do you think that they created those things because they wanted to remain relevant? Did you ever find yourself in that where you would do something on purpose?
I never did it, but I know for a fact that people do it. I know for a fact people have publicists and they create relationships and, you know, little scandals. And, you know, I had somebody come to me once and they're like, dude, I got it. We're gonna have you pull over on PCH and rescue like a dog in the middle of the street, and like you'll be everywhere. So this is literally the job of publicists to come up with stuff that keeps you relevant, that creates talk and keeps you in the media, you know, or sways public opinion like another way, right?
Yeah.
So it's definitely, the media is 100%, mainstream media is 100%, you know, manipulation.
Yeah. And then how about the finance part? When you're a kid coming into that kind of money and you're single mom and all that, and then even going through when you got older and you had agency over your own financial situation.
Yeah.
Can you kind of take us through that journey of understanding financial literacy at that time, and not the lack of, and then how you started to think about that? And
yeah, absolutely. I mean, so for me, you know, I consider my experience to be, although super hard won, to be priceless and valuable. Yeah. And I would say the biggest extract that I could give from that is that no matter how much money I was making, the mindset that I had, it was never enough. So I'm driving a Lambo and, you know, I'm living in a penthouse, but, you know, the Lambo's rented. And if people really knew it was rented, they would think I'm,
fraud.
Yeah. So, you know, people are literally pulling up to me and being like, hey, I hope you know how blessed you are. And I'm like smiling. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not because I don't own it. So it's like, when you make money from a place of fear, insecurity, doubt, you have the money and you have the fear and the insecurity and the doubt. And now all you're worried about is how much you're going to have to pay in taxes. And now all you're worried about is the detail guy put swirl marks in your car, which brings the value down, which is like, now I just lost 50 G's on a paint job. So that's like, you know what I mean?
All the stupid stuff.
More money, more problems.
Yeah.
So I would rather have $0 and be able to access a state of abundance from within me. Like if you think you won the lottery, like let's just pretend you just won the lottery. Like if you're watching this right now, just close your eyes and it's like you won the lottery. You would literally be plotting and planning from a place of joy, the lives you were going to touch, the charities you were going to donate to, the vacations you were going to go on, the food you were going to buy, the dinners you were going to have, the businesses you were going to start. And you're just like, it feels so good. Now I have this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And that right there, my friends, is the secret to life. When you can come at it as if it's already happened. Now, if you won a lottery ticket, the money's not in your hand. It's not in your bank, but you're already ecstatic, right? Mm-hmm. So that means that sense of joy, that sense of expectation, that faith that this is what I'm going to do. I will pay off mom's house. Like when you affirm that and when you see that and you believe that and you have that vibration come in you, If you can do that before the money comes, the money is certain to follow. The hows will take care of themselves.
Yeah,
we get so caught up in the how, but how, and I need this, and I need that, and that's how. I'm in a question, I'm unsure, and I'm in the problem.
Yeah.
So we're trying to make it rain by acknowledging that that the seasons always come, that everything takes care of itself. Not praying for rain, because praying for rain is acknowledging a lack of rain. So you got to be in the state.
Well, and then when you're in that state, you got to be also willing and open to receive, because if you're not, the opportunity will come right to you, and you won't take it because you're afraid.
Because you're
like,
not
oh,
even
no way that
looking
could
for
happen
it.
to me.
Yeah.
Oh, that's got to be a scam, or yeah, yeah.
So
that's
it's
so
the,
huge, man.
The faith is what heals, right?
Yeah.
Not the money. And the same with relationships, man. People are in these relationships, and they just want to not feel alone, and they just want to feel cared for, and they got in the relationship. They looked for that, thinking that outside thing was going to fix their inside thing.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work like that.
Yeah. All right, we're up against the clock, but I want to talk about what you're doing now and what your vision and mission is now, because I think that's obviously the most important thing going forward, not the past stuff.
Appreciate it.
What's the deal right now?
I'm fortunate. I have some really incredible things going on. First and foremost, the Balanced Man Retreat out in Costa Rica every 3 months. It's a powerful 7-day ride ceremony of brotherhood, of connection, of finding your edge, of creating a vision of your ideal future. Amazing food, of course, surfing and waterfall hikes, and some jiu-jitsu and some boxing, some open ocean swims. We do some really cool stuff, but it's these kind of circles where we connect, where the real magic happens.
Yeah.
And we're seeing, liberations of lives. We're seeing guys that haven't cried in 20 years cry, We're seeing guys that don't even think they have a problem with alcohol, just deciding on, hey, you know what? I think I'm not going to drink anymore. And then sending us pictures all ripped like 3 months later. Like, we're not telling anybody what to do. We're creating a container that allows people to see what they do and don't want anymore, and what it would take, what kind of actionable items are we going to take to secure that. So that's beautiful. I got a couple.
Where can people find out about that, though?
TheBalancedMan.life.
Okay.
BalancedMan.life. Energy Wellness Group. We have like 50 therapeutic groups a week in Orange County.
Oh, amazing.
So we're working in the mental health facilities and drug and alcohol detoxes, and also some one-on-ones in the healing space, using sound, using breath work. We're creating a certification program online that we're really excited to launch, but helping people to go from where they're at to where they want to be through somatic release and nervous system regulation and spiritual expansion, really.
Yeah.
So that's
and then who's working with you in Energy?
So me and my girlfriend started it.
Okay.
Yeah. Energy means the inner God, inner gratitude, inner gangster,
okay,
inner genius, inner guru, right? Like the teacher's in you, man.
Yeah, I love it.
Just that awareness, right? When
that's a great brand.
Thank you.
Yeah.
When the student's ready, the master appears, right? This just means when I'm open enough to be observant to all the messages, all the blessings, abounding, infinite abounding messages and lessons. Like there's no, there's no problems, there's no obstacles, there's no curses. It's about the perspective, to learn from those things. So, we're really fortunate to be seeing a lot of people who really have given up hope on life, like severe drug addicts become their best version of themselves, dude. I get to witness it.
I love that this is
I get
happening.
to witness it, dude, and be a part of it.
After all the stuff you've been through, success and downfall and all this stuff, to see this. What about your journey with biohacking longevity? Can you talk about that, like how that started and what you're doing now?
We talked about being that overachiever, that driven, that performer. So over 15 years ago, I just got really interested, in peptides, in, telomere lengthening to the glycation process of the body and growth hormones and, you name it. I've known about it and everybody's talking about it now like it's brand new. A lot of the stuff I even was like, okay, move on. But, so my daily routine is like, I'm doing methylene blue first thing in the morning with some structured water, some, hydrogen water.
Yep, I drink.
I charge my methylene blue with a LED light, okay? And empty stomach, I'm on MOT-C. I'm on 5-amino-1 MQ. and ipamorelin, tesamorelin, and mod GF, a tri-blend of growth hormone releasing peptides. You know, I got my little stack of Vites, some anti-inflammatory stuff, some Shilajit, and all that kind of stuff. Right now, I'm not on BPC or TB500 because my joints are good.
Yeah.
But I do have an injectable curcumin also that's, dude, medical grade turmeric injectable.
Yeah.
Dude, powerful.
What about testosterone levels?
Yeah, so I've been on TRT for a really long time. I blew myself out in my 20s. Just wild man, trend. I wanted to be on the cover of bodybuilding magazines. So, you know, I'm like 183 this morning, but back then I was like 210 and, you know, 6% body fat, squatting, repping 500 pounds. And I'm not crazy like that anymore. Unfortunately, I was never really able to get my test levels back after abusing it for a long time. So, you know, I lean heavily on diet, you know.
Yeah. But by the way, let me mention this on TRT for a second.
Yeah.
So for those out there, don't just jump to TRT because it's suppressive. So if your levels are a certain level, you don't need TRT. There's other things you can do, like enclomiphene that can double your testosterone without suppressive. So I just want to make sure everybody's clear on that.
Yes.
Because don't go out and run out and get TRT if you don't need it. Talk to somebody that definitely knows what they're talking about.
Yeah,
So,
true. The juice wasn't worth the squeeze, let's just say. You know, we're talking excessive hair loss. I've had to have hair transplants, you know, scarring, you know, rage issues.
I didn't do the transplants
nipples.
yet, man. I just went with the bald. I just said, screw it.
Yeah.
Where it happened.
I'll be next.
How about the beard? When did you start growing the beard?
Yeah, I've had this beard off and on for a good 8 years.
How long does it take from like, if you shave clean to grow this long?
I don't know, maybe 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you do to take care of it?
Dude, I'm coming out with a new beard balm, man. It's raw local rescue bee honey, which beeswax.
Beeswax.
Yeah, raw local rescue beeswax from Long Beach. I got a plug who is helping the city restore their bee colonies, and I get his beeswax. It's actually really hard to find real beeswax now. It's all paraffin. It's very processed. It's white cacao butter and tobacco oil and grass-fed beef tallow with a little diatomaceous earth. So we got the silica in there, we got the hydration factor, and we got the hold, which is helping seal in the cuticles, because a lot of guys, everyone's like, how do I get my beard like that? Well, it's dry as heck, number one. It's wispy as heck, number two. You're shaving way down too low or way up too high, so you got to kind of let it grow out. You got to heal it and seal it and give it some wax in there so you can kind of mold it and shape it, because when it's getting long, everybody hates that, but you need something heavy to pat it and hold it, and then you can grow it out. And then once you have it grown out and you take care of it, you actually don't have to do much to it. Like, I'll just wisp these and a little on the bottom of my neck, and that's good because the density's there to keep the shape. Yeah, it's called primal putty. That's what my
primal putty.
Yeah, my beard.
I want to get it all in here, man. I want to make sure we get it all in here.
All natch.
Yeah, is it out yet, or is it coming? It's coming out?
No, it's probably a couple months away.
Okay, all right. Well, they'll be able to find it when this comes out, probably. All right. So, where can people go deeper with you? Where do you want to send them?
It's at Jeremy Jackson Fitness on Instagram. You can go to energy.world if you want to know about the spiritual enhancement, breathwork certifications. Balanceman.life if you want to come out and have an epic time in Costa Rica with us, or just if you want to chat, at Jeremy Jackson Fitness on IG.
Let's go. Hey, man, thanks so much for being out here. I'm humbled that people want to come on my show. I'll never get to a different level than that. Like, I don't care how far we take this thing. I'm just always going to be grateful. So I want to thank you very much for coming out here, Jeremy. All right, guys.
Appreciate you.
That's it. That1 Podcast with your boy C-Rock, Jeremy Jackson, rocking it out in San Diego. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Make sure you subscribe right now. Boop. Don't add time. Go right now. Favorite podcast platform. Subscribe to That1. We'll have Kins back next time. She couldn't make it out here to San Diego. We miss her. Shout out to Kins. And until next time, be That1.